Hello everyone. So as far as the issue is concerned, so recently more than 40 farmers have passed away in the Yavatmal district of Maharashtra, which is a cotton growing area of Maharashtra. Also, a large number of farmers are actually battling with their life on the life support systems, and blindness has been caused in some of the farmers. So basically the farmers in the Yavatmal district of Maharashtra in that particular area of India are battling with their life. As far as the reason is concerned, so the state government ordered some investigation, and the preliminary investigations have shown that the reason for the death and the adverse health condition of the farmers is the overdose of pesticides. And owing to this reason, this issue becomes really important from the prelims as well as the mains examination point of view. And so we would be dealing with different factual part, and also I would be telling you about different pros, the cons, and the way forward, so that you can write a good quality answer in the mains examination. First of all, coming to the Yavatmal area, so Yavatmal is basically here, it lies in the central part of India in the state of Maharashtra. It basically lies in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. If we can magnify this picture a bit, so this is the map of the state of Maharashtra, and this is the Yavatmal area. So basically, if we talk about Maharashtra, it is divided into different parts. One is the Konkan part, then there is Marathwada region, then there are northern provinces. So this Yavatmal area lies in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. Vidarbha region, as you would have heard earlier, that the Nagpur region, the Wardha region, the Yavatmal region are basically the drought prone areas of India, and it is in this region that every year hundreds of farmers commit suicide. So this area is one of the most vulnerable area if we talk about from the agriculture and the farmer point of view. Now coming to the specific details of Yavatmal area, so this is basically a cotton growing belt of India. A large amount of cotton is grown in this particular region. So earlier, if we talk about the earlier times, then cotton was grown here, and farmers use pesticides to kill the pest. Cotton is a crop that is really vulnerable to the pest and the insecticides, to insects and pests. So basically what happened was, when the farmers saw that the crop was getting really vulnerable to the pest attack, so what happened was some sort of scientific innovation took place, and as a result of that, the scientists in India came up with BT cotton. That is the genetically modified cotton that was earlier supposed to be absolutely pest resistant. So basically when BT cotton came to the picture, it was thought that now there would be no pest attacks on the cotton crop, and also the need for fertilizers and pesticides and insecticides would be eliminated. But now, as the BT cotton is being grown more and more, so basically the pests that attack the cotton crop are developing resistance against the BT cotton, which means that earlier there was the strength of BT cotton that it was pest resistant, but now the pests are undergoing different sorts of genetic mutations, single point mutations, multi-point mutations. They're basically undergoing a change in their own structure, the pests, and because of which they are getting more resistant towards the BT cotton. As a result of that, the pests are now able to attack the BT cotton. And the name of the pest, that is the pest that actually attacks the cotton in the most dangerous manner, is the bollworm pest. This is the name of the pest that attacks the cotton crop most. So now what happened in Yavatmal was that bollworm pest actually attacked the cotton crop, and so to avoid the menace of the bollworm pest on the cotton crop, the farmers started using the pesticides. Now the pesticide that was used the most by the farmers was the Monocrotophos. Monocrotophos is basically the name of the pesticide that was used by the farmers of Yavatmal to actually deal with the menace of the bollworm pest on the BT cotton crop. So from here we see that three things are clear: that BT cotton crop is actually not a foolproof solution towards the pest problem of the crops. Even the resistance of the BT cotton is now getting reduced, and it is becoming more and more vulnerable to the pest attacks. The bollworm pest is getting stronger, and it is now developing the capability to attack the BT cotton. And the third thing that is to be noted here is that the Monocrotophos is the major pesticide that is being used by the cotton growing farmers of the Yavatmal district in Maharashtra. So as far as the Monocrotophos is concerned, it is really a poisonous pesticide that is being used in India. This is one pesticide that has been put into the category 1B of the WHO. If any pesticide is put in this category 1B, it means that the chemical is really hazardous in nature. It has acute consequences for the health as well as for the environment. And if any pesticide is put in the category 1B of the WHO, then it means that we should resist from using that particular pesticide. As a result of that, when this particular chemical was put in the category 1B of the WHO, then the international community banned the use of Monocrotophos. Monocrotophos, if we talk about the chemical composition, it is an organophosphate. As the name suggests, phos, Monocrotophos. So phos basically means phosphate. It is an organic compound containing the phosphate element. And so basically phosphorus is present in this, and so it is an organophosphate compound that is really poisonous. Now, as I told you that it has been banned internationally and it is not used by the international community, but today in India, it is still in use. The Indian government has passed the guidelines that it won't be used for the food items, but its use is permitted for the non-food items like cotton. And it has been found in the preliminary investigation report that it is the exposure to the Monocrotophos that has led to the death of the farmers in the Yavatmal region of Maharashtra. So we have seen the status of Monocrotophos, and also one of the properties of this pesticide is that it makes plants look green and healthy. So it is basically a pesticide that actually improves the look of the plants and also provides the solution for the pest problem in the cotton crop. If we talk about the health implications of this Monocrotophos chemical, then it is a neurotoxin. So basically what happens is, inside your nervous system, inside your nerves, let us say you are performing some activity. So from one nerve to the another nerve, there would be neuro signals that would be generated. Let us say that you want to move your hand, you want to move your right hand. So the signal would be transmitted from your brain towards the muscles of your right hand. Now, as the signal is being transmitted from one nerve to the another, so basically what happens is, if this neurotoxin, that is the Monocrotophos, enters into the human body, then it would block the path of those neuro signals. As a result of that, the nervous system of the body is not able to function properly, and the neuro signals are attenuated. They get, the strength of the signals is reduced, they get blocked, and as a result the body functions are not performed properly. One of the most important and the most dangerous implication of using this Monocrotophos is that it is associated with causing paralysis in the body, because obviously when the signals are not being transmitted properly, when the signals are being blocked by this chemical, then obviously the neuro signals won't be transmitted fluently from one nerve to another or from one part of the body to another. So this is the picture of Maharashtra that we have seen till now. We have seen that the BT cotton is losing its resistance towards the bollworm pest, and also the farmers in that region, due to the lack of knowledge, due to the lack of regulation, and due to other reasons that we would be discussing, they are using this acutely toxic chemical, that is the Monocrotophos, that is an organophosphate compound. Now, if we broaden up our view, currently we were focused totally on Maharashtra, totally on the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, but if we broaden up the view, if we look at other parts of India, then we would see that Maharashtra is not the only region where the toxic chemicals are being used without any regulation, but the picture is same in Kerala and other parts of India as well. If we talk about the case of Kerala, then cashew is one of the most important cash crops that is being grown in the state of Kerala. And in the cashew plantations of Kerala, one chemical by the name of endosulfan, that is internationally banned, is used. Even the government of India had taken several steps to ban the use of endosulfan, but now also it is being used rampantly in the state of Kerala. The health implication of endosulfan has been that the neonatals that are being born in the regions around the cashew plantations in Kerala, they have some sort of neonatal deformities. So it is not only the Maharashtra region but other parts of India as well where these hazardous chemicals are being used due to the lack of regulation, and also they are causing the health impact, the negative health impact on the people in the surrounding areas. Coming to the negative impacts of pesticide, till now we have seen that monocrotophos is a neurotoxin that is associated with blocking the neurosignals. Also, we have seen that endosulfan that is used in the cashew plantations of Kerala is causing deformities in the neonatals of that region. But the use of pesticides has a larger implications if we see it from a broader view. We have seen that the toxic chemicals, the acutely toxic chemicals are being used in different parts of India. Now from this slide onward, we would look at the implications of the pesticides in different domains. First of all, if we talk about these pesticides from the farmer point of view, then these pesticides lead to an additional input cost. That is, recently some studies have shown that if a farmer is spending 100 rupees on the input cost, then as high as 33 rupees are being spent on the pesticides and insecticides alone. It means that one third of the cost one third of the input cost, one third of the expenditure that the farmer is undergoing is being spent on the pesticides and insecticides alone. So you can just see how how much burden they are causing upon the income of the farmer. And also, apart from the income of the farmer has to take some sort of loan to actually get these inputs, to get this to use these inputs in the agriculture sector. So till now we have seen the health implications of the pesticides upon the health of the farmers and the people living in the nearby regions. The second implication that we have seen is the additional input cost that the farmer has to incur to bring in more inputs for the agriculture purpose. The third implication of using the pesticides and insecticides is biomagnification. Biomagnification is basically a concept related to ecology and environment. What exactly happens under this concept is, let us say that you are eating some food grains that have pesticides in them. Okay, let us consider the example of rice. If you are eating rice every day and it has some traces of pesticide in it, then those pesticides would get accumulated in your body, and over a period of time the amount of pesticides would be so high in your body that you would start having serious health implications. Now, what is the meaning of the word magnification here? Let us say that one unit of rice has, let us say, 1 gram of pesticide. Okay, now since you are eating rice every day, over a period of time, after consuming 1 unit of rice every day, you would have somewhere around, let us say, 100 grams of pesticide inside your body, or maybe more than 100 grams. So actually, even though 1 unit of rice has a small amount of pesticide in it, but since you are consuming that crop in bulk, so that pesticide from all the units of rice would get accumulated in your body, and that would be seen as a magnified picture of pesticides. So this is what the meaning of biomagnification is. Biomagnification basically means that the impact of the pesticides, the quantity of the pesticides, the impact of the pesticides is getting magnified, is getting enlarged when they are accumulated in your body. So pesticides enter the food chain, and they not only impact the farmers and the surrounding community, but they are impacting every consumer. Because if the rice is, let us say, grown in the belt of Punjab and Haryana, so not only the farmers or the surrounding population in Punjab and Haryana is consuming that rice, but people across India, across the length and breadth of India, are consuming that rice. And so the use of these pesticides and insecticides would impact the entire consumer community. And also, one of the points that is really important from the prelims as well as the mains point of view is that some of these pesticides are persistent organic pollutants. What are persistent organic pollutants? Let us just understand this concept. Let us say you are eating rice every day and it has some pesticide in it. Now, different chemical pesticides have different life. Some pesticides get broken down into simpler substances earlier, while some take a large amount of time to get broken down into smaller substances. So those pesticides that take larger amount of time to get broken down into simpler substances, those are known as the persistent organic pollutants. That is, they are persisted, they are they are stable in your body, they would stay there for a longer duration of time and would cause serious health implications for you. So this whether a particular chemical is persistent organic pollutant or not, it totally depends upon its ability to get broken down into simpler substances. For example, the use of DDT was banned by the government of India almost 2 to 3 decades ago. But DDT is so persistent that even in some areas of India today, its traces are found in the mother's milk. So we can get an idea from this particular example that how long the persistivity, how long the life of a particular chemical can be, that even though its use was forbidden 3 decades ago, but now also it is persisting inside the human body. It has not been broken down into simpler substances and it is still impacting the health. So this is the level of implication that we have by the use of these chemical pesticides and insecticides. Coming to the next implication of these pesticides and insecticides is the export of food items from India. India, after the Green Revolution, became one of the major players in the agriculture market of the world, and we export large amount of primary products to different parts of the world. Particularly, our food grains are exported to EU, that is the European Union, and United States of America. But of lately, in the WTO as well as at the bilateral level, these European countries and United States have raised the issue of chemicals in the Indian foods. What exactly happens is, let us say that if we are exporting mangoes from India to European Union, to any country of European Union, recently there was this news that the mango consignment that was to be exported from India to European Union was cancelled because the European Union authorities tested the sample of mangoes and the level of chemicals, the residual level of chemicals in that was found to be really high. For example, let us say that there is one piece of mango. The international standards are, for example, just consider the crude example, that a single piece of mango can have only 1 gram of pesticide in it. Okay, but since the pesticide industry in India is not properly regulated, it has not much government regulation, so the farmers are recklessly using the pesticides. They are using the pesticides without any control, and as a result of that, the chemicals that are being accumulated in a single piece of mango is, let us say, more than 5 grams, or let us say more than 6 grams. So because of this high residual level of chemicals inside the food grains, the consignment of mango was cancelled. So the high level of pesticides that is being used in India is not only impacting the health of the farmers, is not only impacting the health of the surrounding communities, is not only impacting the health of the consumer community within India, is not only impacting the economic condition of farmers, but it is also deteriorating our image at the international level, because these countries, the Western European nations and the United States, are now starting to have this fear that the Indian food grains have a high residual level of chemicals. And because of this, they are now blocking the food consignments that are being exported from India to European Union and United States. Recently, very recently, in the month of September itself, the consignment of seafood, the shrimps, the fish was exported to European Union, and that was actually blocked because even in the seafood, the level of pesticides and insecticides was found to be really high. So it is because of this high residual level of pesticides in our food grains and even the seafood that our consignments, our food exports are getting impacted, and these countries, the Western European nations as well as the United States, are imposing the non-tariff barriers to trade. They're basically imposing the non-tariff barriers to trade. That is, there are two types of barriers to trade. One is the tariff barrier and second is the non-tariff barrier. Tariff barrier basically means that if a country imposes the import duty, a high taxation regime, that then we call that as a tariff barrier. But if a country is blocking our exports on the grounds that our food grains have high residual level, or the quality of food grains is not good, or they contain large amount of pesticides and chemicals, then that is known as a non-tariff barrier to trade. coming to the another implication of high usage of pesticides and chemical fertilizers is that it is impacting the biodiversity in the region. For example, I would just give you one small example. There is honeybee that sits on the flowers, it sucks the nectar, it go back to its hive, and then these honeybees are processed to generate honey. Recently, an organization in Switzerland has found that the level of pesticides in the honey from across the world is really high. Also, why this level of pesticides in honey was really high, it is because when honeybees are sitting on the flower, they are sitting on those flowers that are cultivated using the pesticides and the insecticides, and as a result, when they are sucking the nectar from the flowers, they are taking in the pesticides with them, and as a result, the traces of that pesticide are found in the samples of honey that are being tested. The second implication is that due to the larger intake of pesticides nowadays, honeybees are getting, the lifespan of honeybees is getting reduced, the life cycle of honeybees is getting reduced, and as a result of that, the pollination is getting reduced. Let us understand how. Honeybee is one of the best pollinators. It basically transfer the male and the female gametes from male towards the female and vice versa. So basically, as the population of honeybees is getting impacted because of the larger intake of pesticides, so the amount of pollination that was a natural pollinator, the amount of, that really assisted in the growth of the crops and the fruits, so that is now getting impacted because honeybees are taking larger quantities of pesticides, and their own health is getting impacted because of this. The last implication of the high usage of pesticides and chemical fertilizers is upon the environment. If the farmer is using the pesticides and the chemical insecticides, then some amount of that is getting seeping into the groundwater through the soil, some amount is getting mixed with the streams and the rivers that flow near the farm of the farmers. And so basically what is happening is the water is getting polluted, the pesticides are getting mixed with the air, and so the air is also getting polluted, and as a result, the people in the surrounding area, when they use that groundwater that has been contaminated with the pesticides, are now facing different health implications. And not only the people, this excess use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers is impacting the marine biodiversity as well. Let us understand how. Once the farmer has used large amount of pesticides, they are now flowing into the river, they are now flowing into the streams. As these pesticides get flown into the rivers and the streams, they lead to the generation of algae. Algae is basically the green blue substance that gets accumulated upon the surface of the water, and there is this phenomenon known as algal bloom, because of which a large amount of algae is getting deposited upon the surface of the water. Now what exactly is happening is, let us say that this is the surface of the water, and on the surface of the water there is some sort of algal bloom. These are the algae that have been deposited on the surface of the water. Now what is happening is, there is sunlight. These algae are actually preventing the sunlight from going into the, deeper into the water, and as a result, the plants and the animal community that lives deeper into the water is getting impacted, because these algae that are being accumulated on the surface are not letting the sunlight to penetrate the water and go deeper into the surface. So it is because of this reason the algal bloom is actually causing a lot of, implications as far as the biodiversity of the marine system is concerned. So till now we have seen the negative implications of the pesticides and the chemical fertilizers that are being used rampantly by the farmers in India, and also we have seen the different implications of the use of monocrotophos, endosulfan and other complex pesticides that are being used across India. Now from this slide onwards, we would look at different stakeholders that are involved in this process, and also we would look at what are some of the loopholes and what are some of the ways by which this rampant use of pesticides can be controlled. So we would have a look at this. As far as the stakeholders are concerned, if we talk about the stakeholders, who are the stakeholders and which people in the country have responsibility to bring down the use of chemical fertilizers in the country, then there are three people. Then there are three people. One is the government, another is the pesticide manufacturers or retailers, and third are the farmers. So these three communities have the responsibility of bringing down the usage of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. Now, first of all, we would analyze the role of the government. What are the loopholes on the part of the government? Now, as far as the loopholes are concerned, so recently the Prasar Bharati under the Government of India, under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, recently launched a satellite channel by the name of GD Kisan. This GD Kisan channel was actually launched by the Government of India to basically acquaint farmers, to tell farmers about different agricultural techniques, different water conservation techniques, how the pest attack can be controlled, and all the contours related with the agriculture. And even they have some programs in which the farmers can directly call the experts on the show and get their queries resolved. But it has been seen that this particular satellite channel has not been effectively used by the government for the holistic resolution and basically to clear out all the problems that are being faced by the farmers, and also not much awareness has been created among the farmers regarding this particular channel. The second loophole on the part of the government is that agricultural officials are missing. That is, at every village level, near every farm belt, near every crop belt, there should be some agricultural experts, there should be some agricultural officers to whom the farmers can go quickly and get all their queries resolved. If they have any sort of agriculture related query, like the quality of soil, the amount of water, the amount of chemical pesticides, the compounds that should be used, the quality of seed, so all that aspects can be dealt with between the farmers and the agricultural experts. But the state governments and the central governments have not appointed any such agricultural officer, any such agricultural expert, and as a result, what is happening now is, let us consider the case of Yavatmal only. When the bollworm attacked the BT cotton crop in Yavatmal, the farmers there had no one to go to discuss their problem. They had no agricultural experts, no government officials with whom they can discuss that problem, and as a result, they went to the pesticide retailer, they went to the retail shop, they told their problem to the retail shop owner, and the farmers, they were actually duped, they were actually fooled by the pesticide retailer there, and pesticide retailer sold them Monocrotophos, that is actually a harmful and then acutely toxic chemical. So basically they tried to get their problem resolved by the pesticide retailer, but they gave them such a chemical that was really harmful as far as the health of the farmers is concerned. And so what exactly is missing here is a reliable and a trustworthy advice that can be given to the farmers. If we talk about the next step, then Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana was launched by the Government of India to promote organic farming, to promote the use of biopesticides, to promote the use of cow dung, manure, and other sorts of pesticides that can be used for for the growth of the crops. But this Yojana, this Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, has not been given a fillip by the Government of India. It has not been taken to the ground level, and it is only some areas, some pockets of India where this scheme is currently limited. So the government, this particular scheme is also can be promoted as far as the reduction in the use of pesticides is concerned. Another loophole on the part of the government is the lack of regulation. If we talk about the regulation, then currently the manufacturers are manufacturing the spurious or the fake or the illegitimate pesticides. They are manufacturing harmful chemical pesticides without any regulation. The retailers are selling their pesticides without any regulation, and so there is not much regulation as far as the sale of the use of pesticides is concerned in India. The only point into consideration here is the profit margin of the manufacturers and the retailers, and so the government should take some sort of steps for the regulation of the pesticides in India. As far as the legislative action is concerned, if we talk about the legislative action, then currently the pesticide industry is regulated by the Insecticides Act 1968. If we talk about this act, this is a really old and the weak act. This is a toothless tiger, if we can call. This act is that, basically no effective regulation of the chemicals is taking place, no registration of chemicals is taking place, and basically manufacturers and retailers are rampantly manufacturing and selling the spurious or the illegal and the fake pesticides just for their own profit margin. So these are some of the loopholes on the part of the government. What is the way forward to that? That we would discuss towards the end of this lesson. Now coming to the second stakeholders, as I told you that there are three stakeholders. One is the government, second are the manufacturers, and third are the farmers. So coming to the second stakeholder, that is the manufacturers. If we talk about the role of the manufacturers, then we have already seen that they are manufacturing and selling the illegal, the duplicate, or the spurious pesticides and chemical fertilizers that are not really regulated properly in India. They are also selling those pesticides in which they have their own greater profit margin, and they are not really concerned about the environmental implication or the health implications upon the farmers. Also, as far as the Act of 1968, the Insecticides Act 1968 is concerned, there are no strong provisions for the registration of the chemical fertilizers. So whatever is being produced, whatever is being manufactured inside the industries of these manufacturers, that is not registered, that is not monitored, and there is no know-how actually what exactly is being manufactured within these industries. The third loophole on the part of the manufacturers is a high maximum residual level. If we talk about the maximum residual level, then this is a property of a chemical fertilizer. Let us say you are using Monocrotophos. Okay, just consider that example. Now, if you are using the Monocrotophos on cotton, the maximum residual limit basically means that if you are using 100 gram of Monocrotophos on cotton, then how much amount of Monocrotophos would be left behind in the cotton? Let us say if you are using 100 grams, and if after the production of cotton you see that 40 grams is still left, then we would say that the maximum residual limit of Monocrotophos is 40 grams. So the maximum residual limit of the chemical should be as low as possible. That is, once they are used to basically shoo away the pest, to actually prevent the pest attack, then minimum amount of residual limit should be there. So currently the chemicals that are being produced in these industries have a very high maximum residual limit, and the government regulation should be there so as to reduce the maximum residual limit and also to produce such pesticides that leave a minimal impact after their use. The next loophole as far as the manufacturers are concerned is with the can, with the trunk, with the packet of the pesticides that they are providing. Currently only safety gloves are being provided to the farmers. Let us say if there is a farmer who goes to the shop to buy the pesticides, then the manufacturers and the retailers would only provide him with the gloves. But due to the lack of safety gear, the farmers are being increasingly exposed to chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which is having a significant health implications upon their own health. So as far as the responsibility of the manufacturers and the retailers is concerned, so apart from the safety gloves, they should also start providing the eyeglasses, the helmet, the gum boots, and also the face mask, so that as a part of the responsibility, as a part of their moral responsibility, that since they are producing the hazardous material, so they should also provide some sort of equipment so that the health implications upon the farmers can be reduced. So currently they are only providing gloves. Also, as far as the bags of the pesticides are concerned, once the farmers goes to buy the bags, then there are no precautionary limits, there are no precautionary measures that are being mentioned upon the pesticide bag, and as a result farmers remain largely unknown regarding the consequences of those pesticides. The only thing they are concerned about is their own investment in the agriculture sector. So farmers try every possible thing to protect their crops, because obviously they are really hand to mouth, they have less amount of money with them, and so they do every possible thing to protect their investment. And so because there are no guidelines upon the bag of the pesticides, there are no precautionary measures, so farmers tend to ignore all the consequences and they just focus on protecting their crop. So these were the loopholes as far as the manufacturing industry is concerned. Now coming to the third stakeholder, that is the farmers. As far as the farmers are concerned, so there are a lot of loopholes on as far as the role of the farmers is concerned. As far as the role of the farmers is concerned, so let us say there is a big farmer who has hired a daily wage laborer to spray the pesticides. Now, that big farmer, the medium farmer, it is his responsibility to provide the laborer with the gum boots, mask, gloves, helmet, the eyeglasses, so that the exposure to the laborer may be reduced, may be prevented. But the big and the large farmers are not really providing these safety gears to the laborers, and as their employer, basically it is the responsibility of the employer to take care of the health of their employees so that they are not exposed to hazardous chemicals. So it is the responsibility of the medium and the large farmers to provide these daily wage earners, these daily wage laborers with these safety equipments. Apart from that, if we talk about the responsibility of the farmers, then basically no scientific use of pesticides is taking place as far as the pesticides are concerned. So the ideal time of using the pesticides is early in the morning between 6 to 8, or late in the evening after sunset, after 7 p.m., let us say. So why? Because during these durations, either early in the morning or late in the evening, during this period the temperature is low, also the wind speed is low, and as a result the toxicity of the chemicals is reduced. The chemicals are toxic as the temperature increases. So it is a scientific fact that during the afternoon period, when the temperature is really high, when the temperature of the day is maximum, at that particular point of time the toxicity of the chemicals is maximum, and the chemicals are capable of causing the maximum harm during the afternoon period. But due to the lack of availability in the early morning, due to lack of availability of the laborers in the early morning hours or in the late evening, the laborers come in the afternoon, they work there, and hence they are exposed to the maximum toxicity level of the pesticides and fertilizers. Another scientific technique that the farmers ignore while spraying the pesticides is the use of wind pattern. Let us understand how. Let us say that wind is flowing in this particular direction. Okay, there is this farmer who is spraying the pesticides like this. Now if the wind direction is in the direction of spraying of pesticides, then the farmer would stay protected from all the ill impacts of the pesticides, and all the pesticides would be taken in this direction by the wind. But what exactly is doing is the farmers are not really taking into consideration the wind patterns. Let us say if this is a farmer, this is the wind direction, then also he would spray the chemicals in this particular direction, and as a result, since the wind is flowing towards him, it would take the chemicals back towards his body, and as a result of that his body would be exposed to maximum amount of chemical fertilizers. So these are some of the scientific techniques that are being ignored by the farmers while spraying the chemical pesticides and fertilizers. One thing that farmers are ignoring is the lethal dose 50. What is this term? If we are buying a bag of chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides, then on that bag the lethal dose 50 is mentioned. What is this term? Lethal dose 50 basically means the amount of chemical that is required to kill 50% of the pest. If you want to kill 50% of the pest, then this much amount of chemical should be used. For example, if we are talking about the Monocrotophos and it is written on the bag that the lethal dose 50 is 100 gram, then it means that 100 gram of Monocrotophos is required to kill 50% of the bollworms. So farmers are not really focusing on this lethal dose 50, and they are using any amount of quantities just depending upon their own fear of the pest, and so they are not really following the scientific techniques that are being used for the spraying of pesticides, and neither they are following the guidelines that are being mentioned on the bags of the pesticides. Now let us come to the last part of this lesson, that is the way forward. What is the way forward? What are the loopholes? We have seen the loopholes. Now we would see how those loopholes can be plugged. How the loopholes in the pesticide sector of India can be plugged. The first solution to this problem is the Pesticide Management Bill 2008. As far as the Pesticide Management Bill 2008 is concerned, it actually, it tries to develop a central pesticide board. The purpose of that central pesticide board would be to regulate the manufacturing and the sale of the pesticides. So this board would actually regulate the manufacturing and the basically the sale of the pesticides and insecticides. It would look at their chemical composition, the maximum residual level, their toxicity, and also the amount of contamination that they would be causing, the health implications. So it would look at the chemical fertilizers and pesticides holistically. Also, one point that you should keep here in mind is that the central pesticide board would cover both the chemical pesticides as well as the biopesticides. This Pesticide Management Bill 2008 has mentioned that the Central Pesticide Board would regulate both the biopesticides as well as the chemical pesticides. Apart from regulation, the Central Pesticide Board would also guide the government about the pesticide policy, like what are the pesticides that are required from the agriculture point of view, how much amount of pesticide should be imported, how much should be exported, from where we can import. So all these measures would be taken into consideration by the Central Pesticide Board. Another provision of the bill that is really important from Indian point of view is categorization of pesticides. So this Pesticide Management Bill 2008 says that the pesticides that the pesticides would be categorized into different categories, and those pesticides that would come under the spurious category or the substandard category or the misbranded category, they would be banned. Okay, so basically the categorization of pesticides would help us in identifying which of the chemicals are actually banned, and if anyone is selling that, then their license would be cancelled. Apart from that, the Pesticide Management Bill also talks about the registration committee. It says that every chemical that is being produced in the country should be registered with the registration committee, and registration would be done depending upon the maximum residual level of every chemical. So before registration, the disclosure of the maximum residual limit should be done. If the maximum residual limit is within the permissible level, then only the registration would be done, else the manufacturers would be forbidden, they would be barred from manufacturing that particular chemical pesticide. Also, the bill says that the maximum residual limit should be in compliance with the Food Safety and Standards Act 2006. This Food Safety and Standards Act 2006 is basically an act that deals with the food safety standards, that deals with the amount of pesticides, that deal with the food quality, if we can say. Also, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, is also established under this particular act. Once the maximum residual limit of the chemical has been assured, it has been tested by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, and it has been told to the registration committee, then only the registration would take place. If the maximum residual limit is not within the permissible limit, then the manufacturing and sale of those chemicals cannot take place. So this was the legislative measure that the government can take. This particular Pesticide Management Bill 2008 has been pending in Parliament since 2008. Another step that the government can take is the substitution of pesticides. Currently, we are using large amount of chemical pesticides like endosulfan or the monocrotophos, but the government, as a part of the as a part of sustainable agricultural practices, the government can replace the chemical pesticides with the biopesticides. Biopesticides such as neem, wasp. So biopesticides are basically those pesticides that have some sort of microorganisms in them, or they have some sort of living properties. Like as the name suggests, bio, it means that these pesticides have some living component in them. Like neem leaves, they are obviously plants, so they are living components. Wasps are also living components. So biopesticides basically means some sort of living pesticides. Some organisms, microorganisms can be used so that the the use of chemical pesticides can be reduced. Also, the non-pesticidal agricultural practices can be promoted. These basically include healthy agricultural practices like crop rotation, summer plowing, and also planting the leguminous crops, the mixed farming. So these are some of the practices that can be undertaken to eliminate the use of pesticides at all. These practices have been promoted in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and they have shown really impressive results as far as this non-pesticidal agricultural practices are concerned. Coming to the last part of our lesson, some of the more way forward, some of the more steps that can be taken by the government, industry and the farmers are: the training session for the farmers can be conducted. The industry, the manufacturers, the retailers and the government in collaboration can conduct training session for the farmers. Also, the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, that is the scheme for the organic farming, may be promoted. And also, the government should empower the agricultural universities. It is the agricultural universities that actually undertake the testing of the chemical pesticides at one time or the another, and so strict guidelines should be laid down for the agricultural universities so that they they put to use the maximum and the strictest possible rules for the pesticide industry. And also, apart from testing the chemicals, they should also lay down the precautionary measures that should be taken by the farmers while using them. So the role of agricultural universities is also important as far as the pesticide industry is concerned. So this is it from this lesson. I hope all the points and dimensions regarding the pesticide use in India are clear to you. You can follow me on Facebook and Quora. If you have any doubt, you can mention it in the comment section. Thank you very much.